Hi Helen, no I'm not talking yet. Have you decided what you're working on Saturday yet, Helen? Oh, let's move that out of the way. Hole punch for Bloom Street. Hi Alison. Ah yeah, remember Helen. Where have you been on your holiday, Alison? Anywhere good? Yeah, I have it ready for you, Helen. It's here ready to go. Oh, turn Chris off and listen to me instead, Helen. Much more fun. Yeah. Get the right trimmer out. Would make life easier, I think. So last week, if you remember, we did the cover, the hinges, and I've been really good and not bent it yet, but it is going to go well. But we're not going to need that tonight, so I'm going to put that to one side and hopefully not bury it under other papers, because that's what I did earlier. It took me about half an hour to find it. So for this little book, for the pages, there's 5 pages in it. So to cut the pages, we're going to need to cut 5 at 6 inches by 9.5. Now I tend to do the largest cut first, especially on cardstock, so that you get as much as you can from it. So 9.5. She says reading it again, double checking. By 6 inches. So I need to do that 5 times. 9.5 by 6 inches. Three, 4, 5. Okay. And I say keep your offcuts of card. I don't think I actually used these offcuts, but I might have done. So just keep hold of them. So right now we need to score on the 9.5 inch side at 1/2 inch, and at 5 inches. Yeah. So if I get my white pencil, see if this shows up for you. So on each one, you're going to score at 1/2 inch and at 5 inches on the 9.5 inch side. So do that on the others. Two, 3, 1/2 inch and 5 inches. Okay. So I'll show you on this one. What we're going to do is we're going to fold both of these folds back on themselves. And that will make a pocket. Now it's up to you if you want to put the fold on the outside I tend to do it on the inside just because it just sits a little bit easier. So that then is your page. So again, on this one, just going to fold it on each of the lines, and you'll notice I'm back with my big bone folder, not because I prefer it, but my small one's hiding somewhere. I used it at weekend and it's not where I thought I'd put it all. So doing your pages like this are quite quick and easy. You could go bigger, but obviously you'd need to make sure that you could probably do 5.5 inches that way by up to 8 1/4 widthwise, because you're going to need to fold it over. But it is quite a good way of doing pages if you're in a rush, or if you are rattling some books off for Christmas presents. So just put that down. Should have filled my glue bottle up earlier. Okay, so you just fold it over and press it down, and put a little bit too much on it, it'll squeeze out. So let's have a look. Evening, Nicole. Okay. So what have you all been up to recently? I know it's saying that it's been quite a dry summer, but I actually went into Manchester city centre last week for something. If I remember, I'll put the post up, the photo up. I was walking along, I think it was the Ashton Canal, and there was a boat that was stuck in the canal because there was probably less than 5 inches of water in the bottom of the canal, and I've never seen it that low. So that was quite a shock to my system, having lived in Manchester and actually worked in Manchester for quite a long time. Yeah, so this poor boat, with people living on it, and they said they'd not moved for about 8 weeks because there just wasn't the water to lift it off the bottom of the canal, which was quite strange. So pages done. So if you do it like that, you've got your hinge at one side. I tend to put the hinges at the bottom, but again, it's personal preference. You know, do what you feel. But then you've got that, and then it will just, once I've cut the corners off, mited the corners, it will just slide onto your hinges. So it is a really quick and easy way of doing pages. So page one front. put my pages over to one side. So page 1 front, we need a flap at 4 1/8 by 3 5/8. So 4 1/8 is actually exactly half of an A4 card. So if I do the 3 5/8, which is just past the 3.5 mark, and then 4 1/8. So we have got 2 from that, but it's okay because we can use another one. We will use another one later on in the book. Okay. Please let us know which project. So Nicole, we're working on the 12 months book, which is this one. We may get around to decorating it, or decorating some of the pages later on. So what we're doing now is we've got all the pages made. So we're just doing this little flap that goes on the front of this page number 1. Okay. So where is it? So on the 3 5/8 side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. And you might think these are really random sizes, but there is a method in my madness. When we come to decorate later, the cutter parts just fit on the 3 1/8. Because we've added that 1/8, it just gives you a small border around the outside. I found that was easier than trying to trim the little journaling cards. So if we fold that, and something that I did earlier on today, I'm actually working on the book, not sure if it's the book after this or the one after that, but it's Christmas, and I got my pages in a bit of a muddle. So what I'm going to do, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4 and page 5 just means I don't get them mixed up like I have done previously. Now we folded that to give you the hinge. I'm just going to stick this on the edge like that. So just line it up on that edge. I have left a little gap, so just centre it top and bottom, so you can see there is a little bit of the page at the top and the bottom, and then burnish that down with your bone folder. So that's the front of page 1 done. So it's page 1 back. So page 1 back and page 2 front are the same, they match each other. So for this, we're going to cut 2 flaps at 6 inches by 5 inches. So I'm going to use a different sheet, because if I cut that down to 6 inches, by 5, because we need 2 of them, 1 for each page, just trim that down as well. Line it up. And then on the shorter side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Ooh. I'm going to do that on both of them. Okay. So these are the flaps for the top of the card, for the top of the pages. So again, just fold it over and using your bone folder, just burnish that down. And then we are just attaching these to the top of each page. So just line it up. And just hold that while the glue catches, and then just burnish that down like that. And again, same with this one, line it up at the top and then just burnish it down, stick it down and burnish it. So on pages, page 1 back, page 2 front, you now have a flap that lifts up like that. So what we're going to do now is put a pocket at the bottom here. So for our pockets, I'm going to cut 2. So we need 2 at 7 inches by 3 inches. I don't think that's wide enough. So 3. And rather than get my big trimmer out, I'm just going to mark that at 7 inches so I can spin it round and trim it off there. And then again on this one, cutting it at 3 inches and just marking that at 7, spin it round and trim that off. So for the pockets, we're going to score at 1/2 inch and at 6.5 inches on the longer side, and then spin it round and score it at 1/2 inch on the 3 inch side. So it will end up looking, oops, like that. So again, 1/2 inch and 6.5 inches and then 1/2 inch on the other side. So I'm going to move my scoreboard away. So, okay, just trim the corners off. On both of those. I do try and tidy up as I go, but it doesn't always work. So again, we just need to fold that over. And burnish all the folds around your pocket. I was asked the other day what the different pockets were called, and to me they're just a pocket, but when I look at this I think this is a U-shaped pocket, just because it makes the letter U. I didn't realise that different pockets had different names. So yeah, a lesson learned for me this week. So it's every day's a school day. So let me just burnish these down. Okay, so we're just going to pop that underneath. So it's going on your base page with your flap coming over the top. And just put your glue on. And just slide that into place. And just hold it steady while that glue grabs. And then get your bone folder. The one good thing about the big bone folder is you can do a big area at once. So that's that one. And then put some more glue on here. And that's the front of the second page done. Oops. So just again line it up. And just hold that in place while you burnish the corners down. Just wipe off any excess glue that squeezes out. And there you've got the back of page 1 and the front of page 2. Okay, so it is, I won't say it's a really easy book, but it is relatively easy, and it's quite quick to make up as well. For those of you that decided to make books for people for Christmas. Okay, so if we turn that over, so this is the back of page 2 and the front of page 3. I'm just going to have a quick slurp of my drink while I have a read. Come across any tassels? What colour tassels did you want, Nicole? I've definitely seen black. I think I've seen, I want to say orange. But I'd have to go down into the garage and just see what colours there are. I'm not going down today because it's pouring down and I'll get wet. But I can put a note up in group when I get them. The tonic scoring ones. So they come like that from massive down, and I think it's the smallest of the ball tools. I've found if I use the middle one, because it's a slightly bigger dip, in the score, when you fold it, it can be out a millimetre or so, but that means that when you're folding, it's not always accurate. So I do use the smallest one on that. However, I do have a smaller one, but what I've found with the very small one, see, that one's got two ends as well, but they are both smaller. You've got to be really careful because that can go through and break the fibres on the card if it's too, if I hold it that way, so you can see it's very fine and it can rip your card and tear it. So I only use that if I've got really, really heavyweight cardstock. Right, so now we're doing the back of page 2 and the front of page 3. So we need the 2 flaps to go on either end. So I've done my cardstock, got another piece. Again, we're doing the smaller sizes, the 4 1/8 by 3 5/8. So I'm going to cut it at 3 5/8 because, as I said before, half A4 width is 4 1/8, so you can get 2 out of this. So take it up to 4 1/8. And that's done. And then, yeah, it's the smallest of the tonic ones, Nikki. So we're going to score this at 1/2 inch on the 3 5/8 side. Okay. So we're just going to fold these over and just burnish them down to get a nice neat fold. And then all we're going to do in this, on this one, is again, we're just going to pop these either ends, but leaving a gap top and bottom. So there we go. And line it up. Make sure the glue grabs, and then just pop the white card over the top so I know I've got it in the right place. And there is pretty much the same gap top and bottom. So that's that one, and then we'll do this one as well. So again, line it up so you got roughly the same gap top and bottom. Burnish that down, and then if you pop your white card in, you can see you've got the same amount top and bottom. Okay, so it is a little bit repetitive. So now we're doing the back of page 3, which is now turned upside down, and the front of page 4. So this is exactly the same as the back of page 1 and the front of page 2. So again, we need 2 flaps at 6 inches by 5 inches. So line that up, and do it that way. Always try and think if you can get your pieces out of one piece of card by cutting it this way. I can then spin it round and cut it at 6 inches. So you're making the most of the cardstock that you've got. And again, we're going to score this on the 5-inch side at 1/2 inch. Oops. And again at 1/2 inch. And then again, we're just going to fold that over, burnish it down so you get a nice sharp crease for your pages, for your flaps up. And then we're just going to pop your glue on the back of your fold. And then just line it up and then burnish that down. By burnishing it down, it does mean the glue it's forcing the glue into the fibres of the card, so it does give a better stick. So that's page 3. And this is your front of page 4. And just burnish that down again. So that's right into the fibres of the cardstock. Now again, we need two pockets for these pages. So we're going to cut these again at 7 inches. I'm going to spin it round and cut them down to 3 inches. So that's 7 by 3 inches. Okay. The other thing I do with all the offcuts of cardstock like these, they're really handy if you've got a die cutting machine. If you want to cut letters or small words out, you can just use these offcuts of black card. I know I have my dies, little dies are about, I can touch them from this side, from this arm, so it's really easy to pull them out to die cut your words and things like that. And it saves getting a big piece of card out if you just want a little word or a little phrase or whatever die it is, or even a punch. You can just use them. So again, just scoring at 1/2 inch and 6.5 inches on here. Ooh. Like that. So you can see on there, a bit wonky, but we're just doing, scoring at 1/2 inch, at 6.5 inches, spin it round, and then score at 1/2 inch again. Now, I spoke to somebody the other day who had scoring board like this, but didn't always open it up. Now this one only goes to 5.5 inches. There are some others that go to 5 or 6 inches, but, and whilst you can score one and then spin it round and score the second one, if this measurement is out, even if it's only by 1 or 2 millimeters, it does mean your pocket will be out. Whereas if you put it down and score one and then move your ball tool up and score on that side, if your cutting was out by 1 millimeter or 2, then it just means that one flap will be that little bit more, a bit shorter. So that was a top tip that I hadn't thought about before, but they said that whenever they did it on certain pockets, their pockets were short for what they should be for the page, and that was the only thing we can put it down to. So again, just mitre the corners and cut them off, and then I'm just going to rub this white out because I don't want it seen. Only because it's going to be on the outside of the pocket. Okay, so fold that over and just burnish that down, and then do the edges as well, and then fold that over, and again just press down for a really neat crease. Again, just fold that over and burnish down so you get a really good crease on your pockets. So again, we're just going to pop this at the bottom on page 3, on the back of page 3. Just move that glue out of there. Don't want to stick it all together. And just line that up and just hold that in place because I put a bit too much glue on. A quick read. Interestingly, you say you use A3 grey board, Nicole. I found I was doing something the other week for somebody, but A3 grey board, you can't cut 12 by 12 out of it. So I tend to stick to A4 or occasionally 12 by 12 grey board. No, you're right. Graphic 45 papers and others, no, they're not always up to size. I've used, what have I been using today? Some of the new Arden Creative papers. They're not exactly 12 by 12, but they're sort of 12 and a bit. So even if you cut it in half, it means you've got a little bit extra on them. But yeah, I found that with quite a few brands, not just Graphic 45, that they're not always exactly the size that they say they are. Yeah, I think if I found a paper in a collection wasn't exactly 12 or 8 by 8, I tend to go and check all the papers in that collection, because it could be that. There's not a lot we can do with it. I think it's because when they cut them to size, they stack them up, and the blade, I don't know if I can show this, instead of going down like that, it kind of goes on a diagonal rather than straight up and down. Yeah, I have seen, oh, it was black cardstock I saw being cut down to size from, I think it was A1 or A0, which was huge. And it's amazing how it does it, but it is easy then to see why it's not as exact as we would like. But yeah, if it's over, that's fine. It's if it's short that it's a little bit annoying. So for this one, we're doing the back of page 4 as I just scroll up on it. So again, we're going to cut this at 3 5/8 of an inch. And then spin it round and cut this at 4 1/8. And like I say, this is just so that the...
Having trouble connecting to the internet. It looks like a router issue, so try restarting it.
Oh, my Alexa's just decided to speak to me.
Then plug it back in.
So score at 5.5, at half an inch on the 3 1/2 inch side, or 3 1/8 of an inch. So score that down. Don't know what I said then to wake Alexa up. Fold it over and then just burnish that down. And the same on the other one. So again, this is page 5. So we're going to pop the glue on the fold. Oops. So on the back of page 4, it's going to the left hand side. With an equal gap top and bottom. And then just burnish that down again. And I think someone somewhere's having a party because there's a lot of fireworks going off. So again, we're just lining it up, making sure the gap is roughly the same top and bottom. Holding that in place while we burnish it down, and then just double check. So that's the front of page 5. Now on the back of page 5, again we've got the pocket at the bottom and the large flap at the top. So for the flap, we need to cut one at 6 by 5 inches. And then for the pocket, I'm going to score at 7 inches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mark that there. By 3 inches. So that's the back of page 6. No, it's not. It's only 5 pages. It's back of page 5. So again, for the flap at the top, Put the 5-inch side at the top and score at 1/2 inch, and then for the pocket, put the long 7-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch and at 6.5 inches. Then spin it round, and on the 3-inch side, score at 1/2 inch. Okay, so we get our pocket and we just cut the corner off again. Mitre your corner, and then if we fold this over and burnish that down, so that's our top flap, and then the pocket to go on the bottom, again burnish that down, fold that over, and again burnish that down, and the same on the other side. I'm sure you're all really dab hands at doing pockets and things like that now. So we'll get our flap, glue on the top of the flap, line it up, and burnish that down. If you know you've had a bit too much glue on, just lift it up and just brush it away with your finger, because you don't want your top flap sticking to the inside bit. So again, I'm going to glue this and down there as well. So line it up, and when you're happy with the lining up, just burnish it down. And like I say, this is just pushing the glue into the fibres of the card to give it a really good bond, so that it doesn't come apart very easily. Let me just clean this off. So now you've got your pages. So your first page, you've got your flap that opens. You turn it over. You have a flap that opens at the top. Now, so all the width is 6 inches, and the top flap and the page is just under 4.5 inches. So you can quite easily put a 6x4 photograph on these, although if you're ordering them from somewhere like Free Prints or Snapfish, I have found that when they come, they're not a true 6x4. They're something like 5 7/8 by, or 5 3/4 by 3 7/8, I think the last lot were. So again, you've got your lift up flap with your pocket, and then on these pages they open out each way, so you've got room there for 3x4. You turn your page over, and again you've got your flap at the top, your pocket at the bottom, and again your flaps either side, and on the back you've got your flap at the top and pocket at the bottom. So Now, when I was doing this book, because all your pages are 6 inches wide, it means that if you're using 6x6 paper pads, such as, oh, it's not open. If you're using a paper pad like that, you know that it's going to fit widthwise exactly onto your page. You just might need to trim ever so slightly off one side if you want the black reveal on it as well. So that's quite a good thing that you can use these paper pads. And your 6x6, it works out really well. Or if you're using 8x8, obviously you can trim it down. If you're using an 8x8, no, it won't work. But your 2-inch strips that you trim off can be used to go along your pockets. That bit there, you can put a 2-inch strip on if you're using a 6x8 pad, or like I'm doing, 12x12 papers. It means that you can just cut them straight down the middle. So I've just cut all these down at 6 inches, so I know I might have to trim a little bit off the edges, but I know that these are all going to go on these pages. Now this one, as you can see, was actually the front page of the paper pack. Again, cut it down to the 6 inches. Well, that one's 6 1/4. Because it was the front page, it was slightly bigger. Cut that down to 6 inches, so you know you've got that extra paper that would normally, on some of the paper collections, if they don't, I know Samperia put fussy cutting on the back of them, but it's quite nice to have, it's like an extra free sheet of 12x12, and who doesn't like freebies? So what time are we on? 25. Right, what I'm going to do is, the front and back covers actually have pockets in, but they are slightly different to each other. So what I'm going to do is, if we do the pockets for the front and back, and then next week we can go through decorating up and where you can put your photos and things like that. So otherwise we'll just be starting decorating and then stopping and starting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop the papers back, and randomly I've just found a pearl that I was looking for at weekend that was stuck to the back of there. So I'll put everything back in here so I don't lose it all. Try and keep a tidy desk, she says. So for the pocket on the inside front cover, it only goes so far, so I'm going to do it at 6 inches. So we need to cut it at 7 inches. So again, there's my 7 inches. 7 inches and turn it on its side, and we're cutting it at 2.5 inches. So that's the front one. And again, we're gonna score this at 1/2 inch, at 6.5 inches, spin it round and score it again at 1/2 inch. Move that to one side. And then again, we're just going to cut the corners. And again, oops. And this is quite a simple, straightforward pocket. Just fold them over, burnish them down. And there you go. That then is going to be your pocket that sits on your front page there. I'm not going to stick it down until I've put my cover piece of paper in. Just want to make sure that it's going to go. So I tend to use, I've got a Herma removable tape. So if you just, you can't see it on black card, it actually, when you put it down, it comes out blue. But that means that it's like lots of little tiny dots. But I can turn this over and put it in place, and it will hold it, so it's not going to fall off, but it'll hold that in place until I'm ready to put the backing paper on and then stick it down properly. Now for the pocket on the back, it's a slightly different pocket. That bit isn't big enough, so I need to cut this at 3 5/8. And then this needs to be 7 1/4 inches. So for this pocket, we're going to score it on the long side at 1/2 inch. Oops. And at 5 1/2 inch, yeah, 5/8 of an inch. And then at this side, we're going to score it at 6 5/8. Oops, and 6 3/4. So I'll just go over it with the white pen. I hope this going over it with the white pencil makes life easier and you can see it. I know it's not great on black card. And then spin it round. And we're scoring it at 1/2 inch. And again at 5/8 of an inch. So when you've done your scoring on your pocket for your inside back cover, you will have 2 lines at each one that will give your pocket an 1/8 of an inch gusset, which means you can have something quite chunky in it. So when you're mitering these, you need to cut up to that corner, straight across, and then miter it. And again, oops, up to that corner, straight across, and then miter it. What you'll find then, when you fold it over, burnish it down, and then do the same on the second one, on your second score line. So that means that your pocket will have a little gusset in there. Once you've done that, you'll find it easier to then go in and just cut off the corner there, so that when they fold over, they will both meet. So again, fold that over, burnish that down, and on the second line as well. I really should have used my smaller scissors for this, but I've left them downstairs because I've only got about 4 pairs. So they fold over like that, which gives you your gusset. Then again, your bottom, fold that up, and then the second score line will give you your gusset on your pocket. Just ease that up into place. Sometimes it's easier to use a ruler, or just persevere and tease it into place, I think is the correct term. So now, when you've got your pocket, I don't know how well this is going to show on camera. Put a white card there behind. Your pocket has these little gussets in it, which means that you can put something thicker in. So rather than just having a piece of card in it, it means you can have 2 or 3 depths of card, and it's not going to bow the envelope, the pocket. So it just means that you've got that little bit more gap to put more photos, journaling cards, whatever you want in the pocket. But by doing it that way, it just means that you've got that bit more, and it stands out a little bit proud from the back page, so that you've got room to put different things in it. On mine, on the original one, I've done some fold out concertina fold cards like that, and they go in quite nicely because they are a lot thicker than just one, but they just sit nicely within that pocket when it's stuck down, because at the middle point you've got like 6 layers of card. So it is better to do a pocket like that, and then because you've cut the corner out, when you've fold it together and it's stuck, look at that, it reads, it will just butt up to each other like that. And give you a nice neat finish on your pocket, which nobody else is going to see, but you know that it's not going to let you, and everything is stuck nice and firmly to the back page the inside back cover of your book. So I'm going to leave that there for this week. So next week we'll work on the good bits, the decorating, and then we'll look at a few other things that we can do with the cut aparts that are with the collection, or if you've got any 3x4 journaling cards, or even if you've got 6x4 journaling cards, I can show you how they would fit in. I'm going with 3x4 because that's what came with this kit, but I will show you how you can use 3x4 journaling cards to make little photo booklets, if you like, and we'll do some more of that. So thank you to those of you that have joined me tonight. Those of you that were in early doors before I actually started may have got a sneak peek of the book I'm working on for, or one of the pages of the book that I'm working on for Christmas. I wasn't sure when I first saw the colours, but I'm absolutely loving it now. So yeah, I will let you know when that's finished. So have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Get lots of crafting done. Helen, if you're still here, you're here. I'll see you on Saturday, and yeah, we'll have fun and craft, and we'll have fun, we'll catch up, we'll have a chat, and we may even craft as well. If anybody's around Stafford, we have got our crop the first weekend in October, when we're crafting from 10 till late on the Saturday and 10 till 4 on the Sunday. If you are local to there, and you want to come along, drop me a message and I'll send all the information to you. All right, take care. See you later. Bye.